Abrams thing, which is that that Abrams would have dragged Warnock down. And because again, like it just was not a great campaign.
She's not, and you know, I think another thing, that kind of bothered me too was there was a preemptive strike against black men from you know what I'm saying, from sisters that we had no idea was even on the horizon. Like all of these reports started coming out of nowhere when it appeared as though she was not going to. There was a poll there was a poll that came out and it showed her early numbers and it wasn't looking good.
No, it never looked.
You know what I
great.
mean? Early on is really hard to tell, but about halfway through, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't looking good, and immediately after that, it's like
with black men.
Right? It's like you niggas, you niggas is the reason.
Get up,
like God damn. And I'm like, look, it's really okay. So anecdote real quick. I vote early because I don't like you niggas. I love everybody, but I don't like being around people like in the day. I like to get my shit done and get the fuck on about my business. So I voted early. I think I might have voted like on the first or second day of early voting. I go, and since I've been talking to Brother Rashid, I have been realizing that yes, I am. And when I researched the libertarian ideology, I'm like, you know, yeah, I fuck with it, right? So I go in, and because it's the primary, it doesn't matter what ballot you ask for. They're going to give you all of the candidates. Like, it doesn't matter. You can say you're a Democrat, you can say a Republican. That's really for data and metrics. It's not really for, now in the presidential election, whichever one you pick, they're only going to give you that ballot. But for gubernatorial races, you're going to get everybody. So I was like, let me just ask for a Republican ballot. Let me just ask for one. So I get a Republican ballot, I go to the next station where you give the little chip card to be activated. And it was a cute sister there that was polling the stations, and I was actually proud at the young people, you know, because you get tired of smelling being gay every time you go to vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely.
So, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So it's like, cool. So some young people, and when I handed her my ballot, she, like, her energy she just act like I just goddamn just was the worst.
Because she saw it.
Because she looked at it, which is a violation.
That's a problem, yeah.
That's a fucking violation.
See, so I'm gonna let you finish. I got something to say specifically about that.
So juxtaposition, right? Just the fucking position. Right next to her is like this butch, presumed to be butch lesbian, like I got a half mullet with the buzz cut Billy Ray Cyrus on the top.
I know the type.
I always wear cut off sleeves. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this lady, you know what I'm saying? Like, this lady was so fucking cool. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was just there just to be a part of the democratic process. She didn't really care about who you were voting for. And I think my point is, number one, is that stop trying to do that shit to us. We got our own mind. You can't piss on me and tell me that it's raining, and then when I do make a conscious decision to do something and it detracts from what you want, now I'm disposable. I'm disposable now because I ain't doing what you want me to do. I'm sorry if as soon as Stacey Abrams says she's fucking with the guns, y'all don't realize she lost all the niggas and most of the men. Don't fucking talk about guns in a place that is the belt buckle besides Texas. Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas are the belt buckle for a regional culture of violence that precipitates and manifests itself and upholds the violent culture in America. It's in this area. You not gonna take away my guns. Why are you gonna take away my guns? I'm just now figuring out how to navigate this shit and keep myself safe. And you gonna take away my guns in the South as an educated black man who stay out of trouble? Girl, you lost everybody when you said that fuck shit.
Yeah, well, that's a lot to react to.
I had to say something about the guns because she wanted to act like she didn't know why we weren't fucking with her.
Right.
We not fucking with you because you don't care about families and you fucking with the guns. Yeah, leave my goddamn guns alone, man. Shit.
Her message, look, when Hillary Clinton ran against Barack Obama back in 2008, Hillary Clinton was all about being like the first female president. Like she was constantly talking about that shit. Girls are the future, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is fine. Obama didn't say any of that shit. Part of the reason why is because like, first off, there's like an electoral advantage to like catering to women because there's just more women than black people in the electorate. So if you can like tap it, so it's a obvious like political strategy there. And I'm not here to like talk up or down on those strategies or whatever.
It's based on promoting consumerism, and the vote is a part of that, of what is to be consumed. They approach it the same way, a very similar way. But my apologies.
No worries. So I think that like, I think that's a big part of the Abrams message. And it's also worth noting that like, I may have said this last time. I know I've said this before, I'm sure, but like the rate at which black women vote for Democrats. If you were an election observer and you went anywhere on earth and saw any group of people voting at that rate for anybody, you would suspect that election was rigged.
Yeah. Look, you'd be like, no, there's no fucking way.
There was a problem.
There's no fucking way.
So the problem is not us. And again, I'm not even saying the problem is necessary. I mean, people vote for whatever reason they vote. And look, I got no problem with. I have a problem with a black person voting for Obama because he's black. I don't have a problem with a black woman voting for Stacey Abrams because she's a black woman. All that
it don't matter. There's a spectrum and a myriad of reasons as to why people vote for someone.
Sure. And I'm sure more often than not, it's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, it's like half understood, which again, I mean, but see, this is where the shit gets kind of nasty because like, the franchise was not universal. And I ain't just talking about between like, slaves and not slaves or whatever. When it was about like landowning people who were overwhelmingly white dudes. The whole idea is that you gotta have some skin in the game. You know what I'm saying? Right. You gotta understand some of this shit. You can't just be walking in just because some motherfucker handed you a flyer and told you who to vote for.
Because there's literally it's too much at stake. You know what I mean? Like, but when you understand the economics behind it, then you figure out why it's important to have relationships with these folks. You know what I mean? To keep who you need to make sure your pockets are lubricated, man. Like it's a very easy game.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, my thing is like I just need y'all to just back off. And now I'm taking this on a bit of a tangent, but this will be very quick.
I like tangents, man.
I was on Twitter today, and I think Matt Iglesias. I think he's a leftish writer. I can't remember who he wrote for. Maybe like Vox or something like that. But he was talking about this whole. This crypto exchange, is it FIX or something like that, that just crashed. And he made this comment. He was like, it seems like we always have these experiments of like non-regulated banking, and they always end up in catastrophe. And my view on it was that like, so when these crypto exchanges fail, and this is not the first time it's failed, so everybody that had money in that exchange like loses their money, right? And there are no government bailouts, and people are fine. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I say people are fine, I mean, like, I'm sure some people like bet more than they probably should have bet. I mean, that happens. That's like part of like risk taking. They knew this wasn't a fucking bank account. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that like in the regulated banking industry, when a bank does some dumb shit, we all pay the bill for that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like this model. I like this model, or I like the crypto model where motherfuckers shit fails, you took on the risk, and that's just on you, and that informs your next decision about where you put your fucking money.
And that's why I say we're naturally. It seems like we're innately libertarian because like I said, I don't have a problem with anything that you want to do, but what I do have a problem with is when you selectively avoid the consequences because you know that it goes against your entire frame of thought. Like your entire paradigm is like altered by just taking accountability because you will see that there's no reason to do it. Now, to your point about crypto, there are a lot of different little financial devices and things that are out there right now. You know what I mean? And I would suggest to anybody is to look for a couple of things. And I'm not a crypto expert, but I do like crypto for these reasons. Number one, look for, like, always read the white sheet. Read the white paper. Whatever it is, just goddamn read what the shit is about. It'll tell you. And if they don't have an elephant tax in there, I wouldn't fuck with it. Because the elephant tax is meant to penalize people who have large shares of a particular coin from rug pulling and devaluing the coin and just leaving it as like, just basically just causing it to collapse. So just look at different things, and I would just say, like, if you're not a crypto millionaire, just take you like $1,000, right, and then learn about BNB. Get on,
take,
you know what I'm saying?
$100, take $10.
Well, the only reason why I say 1,000 is because if you just have some stuff set aside, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, you might, like, I didn't always know. I don't know about gas fees like that. I'm learning about Ethereum gas fees. But if I only put 100 in there, and then let's say I go into something and I lose 50, and I'm trying to repopulate or rehydrate or do whatever I'm doing and whatever these decentralized financial things are, I don't know how to. I'm not knowing when to add money to my BNB coin. I'm not knowing, so I just put the extra money in so I can transfer it, and I know this is what I have to make. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is what I have to, you know what I'm saying, to use in the crypto. I don't want to just put 100 in and be like, well, I lost some money. Let me go get another 100. Let me go get another 50. Let me just put 1,000 to the side and just incrementally invest it as I learn and just see how I can just flip that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's discipline. It's hard to do, but you know.
Sure. The reason I just say 100 or even 10 or whatever is because for me, I just think the best way to get in is just to monitor the movement of the market.
True.
And if you just got like $10 or $100 or whatever, you ain't dying if like it loses 20% or something like that. But you can start to get a feel for the ups and the downs of because the markets can be. I mean, they've been a little more stable lately, but over the last like week or so, they've been very unstable. Partly because of what we just talked about, and partly because of some other things. And Ethereum's been kind of weird because of the whole merge, and there's a lot of stuff that's been going on in that space. But I think the bigger point though is that the fundamental libertarian instinct is just based around the idea that in these advanced societies, America certainly one, that there's just a tendency for people to outsource risk to the government. And that shows up in a number of ways. The financial system is one, like the FDIC. So like that, you know, the idea behind the FDIC is that, you know, you put money in the bank. If the bank goes under, feds will take care of you, right? They'll make you whole, right? So like where it used to be risky, and therefore you had to like really understand the bank you was fucking with and the kind of investments they made and how well their balance sheet was managed, all that sort of stuff. You don't have to give a fuck now. So people just like put money in the fucking, you know, any fucking bank because the feds are backing that shit up. Right. You could talk about like healthcare. You know what I'm saying? You could a lot of things that involve risk. A lot of times are monetary, and again, like insurance is actually a financial instrument. Mm-hmm. The way that, because for a number of reasons, the way that we talk about healthcare in America is in terms of insurance. So we're talking about healthcare in terms of a financial instrument, but in actuality, healthcare is not a financial instrument. I mean, healthcare is healthcare. This is the way that you pay for it. But the fact that there's an instrument between you and the healthcare adds a whole lot more complexity to the consumption of healthcare than it would be if you were just directly consuming healthcare.
People have been made millionaires off of their HSA accounts.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying?
I just did open enrollment today and had to re-up my HSA.
You see what I'm saying? So hey.
We're down a rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, bro. I mean, look, it's beer and the conversation, and I'm drinking a beer, and we're having an amazing conversation. So, on a more somber note, man, y'all, I got a lot of phone calls about everything that's been going on. I get phone calls a lot of, you know, people call me. I appreciate and respect everyone's opinion. I never take for granted that people actually want to hear what I have to say. I think it's a gift, and I'm grateful to have it. I just was not ready. I was okay. I was cool talking about Ye. Ye's one of my favorite artists. That's not a secret. I have a lot of respect for Kyrie. Only thing I'm going to say about those two individuals is that just pay attention, and I want you to I want everyone to pay attention to the fact that no one has said that they are lying about the things that they're saying. And I'm not necessarily saying that they're right or that they're wrong. I just pay attention to what's not being said a lot of times. So I'm hearing all of the accusations of them being this and them being, you know, like them being so terrible. But I have not heard them be called. I have not heard them be called a liar yet. And like I said, it may be a minor observation, but I just think that it's something to take note of when we talk about history. I've been doing a lot of research on, like, I just been reading a lot of things, right? So I've been reading the Emerald Tablets. I've been reading about the navigator who crossed the ice walls. I just try to just read about all of the different things because I understand that that the truth in history is something is like a handful of marbles. And what happens is that they're thrown out here and various areas get a little piece of the truth. And it's not the whole truth, but collectively, if you start kind of putting it together, you'll be able to paint a picture. So that's all I'm going to say about them. I have tremendous respect. I'm never going to dogpile, and I'm never going to turn my back on any black man. There's no black man or black woman or black elder or black child that I will turn my back on. Like, you will have my support, even if I do not agree with everything that you do. You know what I mean? No one is irredeemable in my culture, I feel like. Some people do need to fucking go, but that's your redemption, is knowing when you need to fucking go. That's not my place to tell you. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a pro-redemption guy, and I think some of the stuff I don't fully understand all the things around it. I think I guess the way that I look at it is like, I have a lot of people that have been like very formative in like my life, and particularly around my career and that sort of stuff, have been Jewish, and they have like really, like, some have gone like above and beyond to look out for your boy. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that all Jewish people are trying to look out for me. Just like the black people in my life or the women in my life that have, right, looked out for me. Like, it don't, right, So I think, for me, like, at the just very core of it is just the idea that, like, just like overgeneralizing groups of people. And again, like the whole Kyrie thing, I understand he linked to a documentary that may have had some controversial things said about Jews, and there's a whole like, who are the real Jews and black Asiatic Jews, all that sort of stuff. And like, I'm just personally a person, I just believe that like that shit should be able to be said. Whether, it could be dubious, lots of dubious shit is said. And so, I'm a person who believes in just maximum information to go through and parse and figure out. Facts. And if it stands, it stands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so, if Kyrie like linked to a documentary, again, I don't know all the detail, but it seems like he like linked to a documentary. Documentary says some things that I guess could be considered anti-Semitic. And so people were kind of coming down on him for linking to the documentary. He apologized. He gave to the AD. Well, I guess he didn't apologize enough. It's I guess according to some folks. And so that, but again, like all that stuff, like what constitutes a real apology, what all that shit is. There's no fucking like concrete correct answer on that shit. And a lot of times it's just like, some arbitrary shit that's just set up at the point of the apology. You know what I'm saying? And so So I don't know. I'm not a fan of like stereotyping large groups of people. It is incredibly multi-layered and nuanced. And I've always said, and this is one of the things that I always started off with, and I always go back to this. I lean on this. Nothing in this life can override or trump the human condition or experience. So you can have people that you are very close with, and by all odds you should not have a relationship with them, but commonality is one of those things to where you can't predict how you're going to run into somebody and how their frequency is going to resonate with yours. But I also understand the duality as well. And there are things that are on the individual, a situational level, and then there is, just like there's the macro and the micro. And I think the micro is where life is. I think the micro is where life is lived, and I think the macro is where life can be manipulated, because there's what's real, and then you have reality, and you have what's real. What's real is that we all have people that we've met from different sectors of life that have been beneficial to us that did not always look like us. But it's also real that a reality or a given history that we have not been the writers of the history that we've been given. And I think that whenever people start to want to delve deeper and figure out where their history actually begins, there always seems to be this hush hush. No. You don't need to either I'm going to condemn you or shame you for wanting to research and learn about yourself, while simultaneously shaming you that you don't know about yourself. It's a lot of things that go into play, and that's why I said I didn't really necessarily want to talk about Ye
and Kyrie in depth. I just wanted to say that I'm just listening to the fact that all of the people who are admonishing them have not called them a liar. And I think that I'm only going to really rest on that, and I'll let everyone else use their deductive reasoning, their critical thinking skills, and their comprehension to figure out if it's even worthy of a cause for your attention to even delve that deep. But I agree. As most times, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, it takes a lot of energy because you start to look like a quack. You start to look like a conspiracy theorist when you continuously group in a lot of people. So you have to be very, very cautious in how you want to intellectually describe your issues with certain people.
Well, and the last thing I would just add is that, like, you know, one of the core ideas behind libertarianism, and again, it's funny because, you know, you have like intersectionality, which is this way of looking at the world that's been very prevalent on the left. Particularly, you know, you have like intersectional feminism and that sort of stuff. And, you know, intersectionality is this idea that, like, you know, we are like intersections of identities. So, you know, being like a white woman is different from being a white male. Being a rich white male is different from being a poor white woman. And, you know, so there are all these things. And I think part of the issue is that the way that progressives use it is that they limit those intersections to like constituencies that matter to them. So they care about like race and gender and sexual orientation.
So you can use it.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But intersectionality is infinite. There are infinite things that we experience and that we are.
I call it interconnectedness.
Yeah. I call it libertarianism because the logical conclusion of intersectionality is that we're all individuals.
Right?
And it is a big part of classical liberalism / libertarianism is to understand that very thing, that we are all individuals and that we should be given a chance to be individuals and not get lumped in and have our destiny determined just by people that look like us or talk like us or whatever. I'll leave it there.
That is the perfect segue. I wanted to reserve a little bit of time to talk about Takeoff. I know I talked about it a little bit, but we got off track. But I want to get back to it because I know genuinely a lot of people, including myself, hurt. I love our culture. I love our music. I love us. And when it comes to celebrities, I do have celebrities that I have a strong affinity towards. I am very cautious of saying who I love because I have a general love for people, but when I get too attached in terms of people that I don't know, that's how you can be swayed by the image of a life that you have no idea how they're really living. Waking up to hear the Takeoff had died, I was hurt. And then I immediately start to try to figure out what the fuck really happened? And now that we're figuring out what's going on, I would just say that there's culpability all the way around. There's one person that decided to pull the trigger and kill Takeoff. That person I feel like there's going to be an arrest made soon. I feel like a lot of the things that people are thinking, was it a hit job? He got hit, so by definition, it was a hit job. You know what I'm saying? But was there anything else involved? Was it this entire setup? Was it this concert? Was it this coalition that conspired to kill Takeoff? No, but there has been a conspiracy. There's been a concert that we have all been attending as Black people in this culture for the past 30 years. And whenever the impact and the consequences of us being voyeurs and progenitors of this particular culture, we act like the shock and the disbelief. But let's think about it. Even with the line that Drake made, even with the double triple entendre that Drake made about Shawty got shots, Shawty ain't get shot, but she's still a stallion. So everybody thinking he talking about Meg, and he probably is. I don't really care. It's hip hop. This is what we do in the culture. We are the voice. We keep things cutting edge. But people like Mark Lamont Hill and a lot of people who get up there and they automatically want to condemn hip hop culture, they're very selective about it. And I'm like, you sat up there and listened to 3 songs on the album that was calling women bitches, that was talking about all this other shit, But it wasn't until you thought that you heard a line that may have referenced Megan Thee Stallion down the line that you decided to turn it off. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the hypocrisy of how we continue to allow these different entities and institutions to push this culture on us. When hip hop was first started, I'm not old enough to where I can say I know the early beginnings of hip hop, because I don't. I would be damn near 60 years old, and I'm not. But what I do know is that there was a point in time when I was coming of age to where hip hop had a mostly positive stance and slant to it. It's not, none of the stuff that we're doing in our culture that we're being manipulated with is healthy for us. The drug culture in the music, the killing culture in the music, the thought culture, the hypersexualization, the stuff that we've been talking about for a very long time is not necessary. And now we have a brother who is seemingly just a bystander, and let's look at that. Y'all, if it's a dice game, if it's a card game, if it's dominoes, if you don't know the people there, if that's not your family, and even if it's family, stop fucking playing these games. They done showed all the way. There's been nothing but movies and media, and movies and pop culture has shown us, since we like to engage in it so much, that nothing positive comes out of a dice game. Like nothing. I've never seen anyone change their life for the better because they were good at dice. Now, that's not to say that someone didn't hit a lick and then use that money responsibly and then just decide I'm going to just not gamble anymore. But there's an emotional connection to how people play dice. There's no rules. There's a lot of money, and it's a street game. You don't really play it in a regulated sense. So while these brothers were playing dice at a bowling alley, and all of this is speculative because we don't know, but I'm just going off of the overall narrative that we know that we've kind of been in and out of since all of this has started. While those brothers were playing dice at a bowling alley that was rented out specifically for another, you know what I'm saying, for a celebratory event, I don't know. But if that's how black people want to choose to celebrate, I would just ask that we respectfully, like, nigga, let's play Jenga. Like, let's play checker. Like, let's do something else that's not going to result in people getting the back of their heads blown out over a dice game. Now, I don't know all of the details, but all I know is that it appears as though being a rapper there's like a 40% chance that you're going to die. That's really high, by the way. But it's egregiously high. It's egregiously high. I know it is, but
that's like multiple times worse than being a soldier.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Like a deployed soldier.
But I think hyperbole is in order, because at the rate in which we're dying now, tomorrow,
every fucking pro wrestlers.
You know, I mean, look. We, at the end of the day, anyone who's going down there tomorrow to celebrate Takeoff's life, there's a lot of things that I can talk about. I can talk about whether or not there's going to be a war between Atlanta and Houston. I can talk about whether or not there's going to be retaliation. I can talk about a lot of things. But I feel like I will be doing myself, my community, and my and you all a disservice by just talking about and perpetuating that. It's going to handle itself the way it handles itself, but I want everyone to go downtown tomorrow, go to State Farm Arena, and like show the real nature, the real festive, the real peaceful nature of black people. Although it is arriving at a very dismal time, at a very sad and somber moment. I think the term would be like, what's that, sepulchral? I think that's a very gloomy. It's like the gloomiest time. Like there's a dark cloud on the city. Whether or not you like Migos music or not, I ain't even say that I even listen to their music because it doesn't matter. I'm just very disappointed in the fact that another black man wanted to pull the trigger on another black man or anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's disappointing, it's disheartening, and there's all the things I can say that have already been said. I just want us to move forward and just be like, you know what? Maybe I won't listen to such heavy concentrations of drug killing music. There's a lot of other good music out there, y'all. Like, there's a lot of great artists that make music that inspire you and resonate with you that don't just involve these negative harmonic frequencies in our body. Like, there's a place for it. Like, I love 21 Savage as much as the next person, but I can only do about 2 tracks at a time before I'm like, nah, this don't feel right. So you guys are not listening to Andre Crouch and Smokey Norfolk and James Cleveland and Shirley Caesar on the way to pull up on your ops. You listening to the music that's being created. So it's unfortunate that Takeoff had to die. I don't really have a specific message for anyone about this other than the fact that stay home, stay safe. You ain't got to be on the scene. You ain't always got to be in the mix. You can walk away. You ain't got to be a bystander. You don't have to engage in things just because you feel like your respect or your image is at stake. If I was Takeoff, and I'm gonna be honest, when this is my personal thing on him, if he was as laid back and as chill of a person as he was, and everyone said that he was, a person like me, I'm naturally an introvert. I just like talking to y'all because I got a platform, but nigga, my ass be at the house. Like, I love my house. My house is comfortable. It's dope. I like to be in places where I know I'm safe. I like to be in places where I know my folks got my back. And I'm not going to put myself or anyone else in a position to unnecessarily send me to, you know what I'm saying, to an early grave because I just got to be on the scene. Like, I know y'all think it's Atlanta. We always got to be seen, but some of the best things are happening when you just at home, like learning about yourself, creating, like learning a new skill, teach yourself a new language. Like, you ain't got to be on Edgewood every weekend. You ain't got to always be in a mix because you're going to increase the probability of being amongst a crowd of people that don't view you as anything other than just somebody that's standing by. So I don't really have a real overall message other than I just want everybody to be safe. I love each and every one of y'all. I hate to see folks getting hurt and spilled out on the street, getting stretched out. I hate to see what's going on with I hate to see all of this. But it's a part of the human condition that is going to continue to happen. So I'm not going to say we need to stop black on black crime. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say any of that because the reality is that it's going to go on. I just hope that there are some people that are inspired. Maybe the next Takeoff is inspired. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the next Takeoff is inspired and he's a conscious rapper. Or maybe it's or maybe he is a she. Or maybe he is a guitarist. I don't know. But we need more artists, we need more creators, we need more peaceful, harmonic beings, you know what I'm saying, out here really, really promoting what we're about as a culture. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to be the toughest. You don't have to be any of that. You just got to just be you and put yourself in the smartest position that you can win. So that was a very, very loose rant. If you got something out of it, take something from it. But goddamn, man, they just released Built for Infinity links. Bars and captions, man. Like, this was the best Outcast interpolation I had ever heard. Like, no one has covered Outcast in the mainstream. I want you guys to think about this. That's probably the reason why I'm hurt. No one has done an Outcast cover. And they took an Outcast classic and did it justice. Yeah, I'm fucking hurt. Cause now at coming of age at 30, when you're starting to figure things out, just when you're starting to really, really get, you know what I'm saying, you know, get your feet under yourself. So let this be a lesson to everybody. Stay your black ass at home.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot here. I have certainly heard Migos songs. Never really been into like my wheelhouse. Unfortunately, you know, it's funny when I was younger, I was like the hip hop head. Like, I knew every track. You could not name an artist. You could not name a song like in the late '90s, early aughts that I had not heard of. That I didn't have the maxi single or the CD single.
Not that maxi.
Or the download.
Not that maxi.
Napster at some point, but
and LimeWire and ShareBear.
Yeah, but Napster was the OG there.
Oh, the OG, the triple
I guess
OG.
FTP was actually the OG, but Napster
FTP,
made it easy.
yeah.
So I you know, certainly the loss of life, senseless loss of life. I mean, I assume it's. I mean, you know, you say he's 30 years old. I mean, 30 years old.
He was 28. You know what I mean? He was 28. Which, you know.
28 dying in a bowling alley playing dice, man. It's just not. That is not a good look. It's not a good way to go. And it certainly appears as if there could have been some unavoidable or some avoidable circumstances there. Hence, I think your warning. I think that we talk about our culture, we talk about our music. I'll just reiterate what I've just said before, which is just that, like, there's nobody else. Like, if you go on iTunes, or you go on any, like, music consumption service, and you listen to the top 10 songs for every single solitary genre, there is nothing as destructive as our shit. Nothing.
There is. You're absolutely right, and I think that there's a reason. So you have always said, and this is one of the few things, guys, that me and Brother Rashid actually don't agree on, right? And I know we're about to wrap up here soon, but you've always said that that you either, and I don't want to misquote you, so I'm going to paraphrase on a couple of layers.
I'll clean it up if it needs to be cleaned up.
Either you don't believe that systemic racism exists, or you don't think it's a thing. And I completely respect.
I think that in the grand scheme of problems affecting black people, it ain't in the top 10.
Okay.
I don't think it doesn't exist. I don't think it's a priority for black people. And I'm glad you clarified that, because I do agree in the battery of issues that we have, right? Systemic racism is one of those things to where if you put your effort in, you with your own effort and fortitude can minimize some of the effects, and I might even say most of the effects. Perhaps it just depends, right? But for those people who completely disagree that systemic racism does not exist, I thought of this question, and I don't know if this is a philosophically flawed question or not, but I'm going to pose it anyway. If people can agree that they can recognize an agenda, how can you agree that there's not a system? So I think a system requires certain levels of organization that a mere agenda does not necessarily require. But we are way too deep in this thing to have this conversation.
I just wanted to just pose that.
Talk about it.
The reason why I pose that, because it does kind of works as an overlay of everything that we're dealing with. We're dealing with agendas, and everyone wants to debate whether or not people are being targeted, sacrificed, buck broken. So it's very apropos to everything that we're talking. We're talking about is there a concerted effort in everything that's been going on. But we will pick up, guys. I appreciate you all. Shouts out to my broski Laris Hodges. Hopefully he'll be back next week. If he's not, guess what? I'm gonna be back here. Rashid's gonna be back here. East Point, smoke some dank.
Old National got the skanks.
Everybody, peace.